The galaxy had forgotten Earth. It was spoken of only in fragments of history, in half-broken records, and in myths passed around in old trading posts. To most alien races, Earth was nothing more than a lost world, destroyed by time or abandoned after ancient wars. The Galactic Council never mentioned it. For them, it was irrelevant, a shadow in the past, a planet that no longer mattered. Yet somewhere in the dark corners of space, rumors began to rise. Merchants whispered of strange signals coming from a region long marked forbidden. Explorers who traveled too close returned with broken ships, their navigation shattered, their minds shaken. Others never returned at all. The Council dismissed these stories as lies, tales invented by smugglers to cover their failures. But fear grew, like a storm hidden behind the horizon. For centuries the galaxy believed humans had vanished. Some said they were too fragile, unable to survive among the great empires. Others said humanity destroyed itself, leaving nothing but dust. But in hidden archives, in places only a few dared to read, there were warnings that humanity was not gone. They were only waiting in silence, watching the stars. On the planet Vera, a small outpost world, a listening station picked up the first signal. It was faint, broken, and old, yet the language was clear. It was human. The operators froze as the sound echoed through their systems, a message in a code no one could fully understand, but its rhythm carried power. The alien commander of the station, Admiral Tovak, felt something he had not felt in years: fear. He ordered the recording sealed, classified under highest security. But secrets could not stay hidden. Soon the whispers spread again. The humans had spoken. After centuries of silence, their voice had returned. The council gathered in their great chamber. Leaders of a dozen raked argued fiercely. Some laughed, saying the message was nothing, an echo of the past. Others grew tense, remembering the old wars when humans appeared without warning and turned battles upside down. One elder, scarred by time, stood and spoke words that silenced the room. Do not take this lightly, for when humanity is silent, it means they are preparing. Beyond the council, ordinary citizens began to hear fragments of the rumor. Merchants feared to travel near Earth's old sector. Patrol ships reported vanishing fleets, as if swallowed by the dark. Even warlords who mocked the idea of human power began reinforcing their borders. The galaxy was uneasy. Something was coming. In the void, in the place where stars burned cold and silent, shadows moved. Massive shapes drifted beyond detection, hidden behind energy fields no alien sensor could pierce. They were ships, human ships, waiting. They did not move with the chaos of pirates nor the pride of empires. They moved with purpose, calm and patient. Their silence was louder than any declaration. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy began to ask a question it had long buried. What happened to Earth? Where had humanity gone? And if they had survived in the shadows, what had they become? The answer was waiting. But the galaxy was not ready for it. Not ready for the day the silence would break. Not ready for the return of the forgotten world. The council could dismiss the whispers. The merchants could hide their fear, but the truth could not be avoided. In the darkness, a signal pulsed again, stronger this time. It carried a warning, it carried a promise. And though no alien could translate its full meaning, one word repeated clear and sharp, a word that made every translator pause. The word was Earth. The message spread across the stars like fire in dry grass. No one could explain how a human signal had pierced through layers of council security and reached every major outpost. It was not a simple broadcast, it was something else. It carried hidden codes, strange mathematical rhythms, and echoes that twisted even the strongest encryption systems. The council's finest minds worked night and day, but the code did not break. It was as if the message itself was alive, shifting, adapting, resisting every attempt to unravel its meaning. In the far reaches of space, fleets were sent to investigate. Explorers traveled near the forbidden region, guided by rumors and half-broken coordinates. What they found only deepened the mystery. They discovered ruins on barren moons, structures that looked abandoned yet strangely untouched by time. They found satellites drifting in silence, ancient yet active, watching. One explorer swore he saw the shadow of a massive ship vanish behind a dead star, but his report was dismissed as madness. Still, unease grew. Admiral Tovak, the same alien who had first received the signal, could no longer sleep. The sound of the human code haunted him. Each time he listened, he felt as if something was staring back through the transmission, something aware. He warned the Council that humanity was awake, but they laughed. They called him paranoid, yet deep inside, many of them feared he was right. Then the disappearances began. Cargo convoys entering the silent region vanished without a trace. Scout ships reported ghost readings, strange shadows that flickered across their sensors before their systems went dark. One fleet of 30 ships never returned. The Council blamed pirates, but even pirates could not erase fleets so completely. Whispers turned into panic. On the outer colonies, ordinary people began to speak of the Silent Ones. Stories spread. The alien fleet limped back, broken in spirit, their ships barely functional. The Council tried to bury the truth, but it was too late. The galaxy now knew the humans were not myths, not lost, not destroyed. They were awake, and they had been watching all along. The council chambers were restless. Voices of dozens of alien leaders echoed in anger and fear. The return of the human signal could no longer be denied. The shattered fleet that limped back from the forbidden sector was proof enough. 70 ships, the pride of 3 empires, had been disabled without a single battle, and the only words spoken to them had been a warning. You should not have come here. Some leaders dismissed it as advanced trickery. They argued that humans must have stolen technology, perhaps from long-dead civilizations. Others grew pale, remembering the old legends of the human wars, stories told of a species that fought not with sheer numbers, but with creativity, with defiance, a race that never surrendered. Whispers said humans once defeated enemies far stronger by using weapons no one could understand. Some claimed they even destroyed entire armadas with a handful of ships. The galaxy had long believed these tales to be exaggerations. Now they were being remembered with new fear. Elder Vale, the oldest being in the chamber, stood slowly, his body frail, his eyes dim, but his voice cut through the chaos. I was there when humanity fought the Zir Dominion, he said. The chamber grew silent. I saw them turn defeat into victory in a single night. They were not the strongest, they were not the fastest, but they were something more dangerous. They were unpredictable, and when they vanish into silence, it means they are preparing for something greater. His words struck the chamber like thunder. For centuries, the council had comforted itself with the belief that humans had perished. Now, and that illusion was broken, and the shadow of the past loomed over them all. Meanwhile, far from the council worlds, fear grew among ordinary people. Merchants refused to cross near the human sector. Smugglers abandoned their routes, preferring safer but poorer trades. Even warlords known for their brutality avoided the region. It was as if the galaxy itself was shrinking away from the shadow of Earth, but in the hidden colonies of humanity, things were different. Children were raised not in fear but in discipline. They were taught the long history of betrayal and exile. They were told of the wars when the galaxy tried to crush Earth, and they were told of the great silence that followed. Every family carried the same vow. When the time comes, we will rise again. In deep chambers buried beneath human strongholds, leaders gathered, maps of the galaxy spread before them. Names of empires, fleets, and trade routes were marked in glowing light. For centuries, humanity had not been idle. They had studied every empire, every weakness, every arrogance. Their patience had become their greatest weapon. Back in the council chambers, panic grew stronger. Reports arrived that more fleets had disappeared. Patrols on the borders of the forbidden sector had gone dark. Some ships sent distress signals, screaming of invisible hunters before silence consumed them. The evidence was undeniable. The shadows were moving, and they belonged to humans. Still, there were those who mocked the danger. The Luther Emperor laughed, his voice proud and cruel. Humans may have tricks, but they are still nothing before the power of our fleets, he declared. Give me command, and I will burn their shadows into dust. Many cheered his words, but others trembled, for arrogance had always been the downfall of empires, and humanity had learned to turn arrogance into weakness. In a quiet corner of the chamber, Admiral Tovak listened without speaking. He had seen the human signal, heard its echo, and he knew deep inside that nothing could stop what was coming. Humanity had chosen silence for centuries, Now that silence was broken and shadows of the past were returning with a vengeance, across the stars, in places hidden from alien eyes, massive engines came alive, human fleets stirred, their ships gleamed with black metal and lights that pulsed like beating hearts. They were not just war machines, they were symbols of a race that had been underestimated for too long. The shadows were rising, and the galaxy would soon learn the truth. The stars over the border worlds were calm, convoys moved through the trade lanes, patrol ships drifted in steady formation, but then the silence broke. Sensors across 3 sectors lit up with the same warning. An unknown ship had entered Council space. It did not match any design in the records of 1,000 years, yet one detail froze every heart. Across its hull, marked in white against the black steel, was a single word: Earth. The ship was vast, larger than any dreadnought the Council had ever built, but it moved with unnatural grace. Its engines left no trail, its weapons gave off no signal. It drifted like a predator that did not need to roar to prove its strength. For days it said nothing. It only traveled slowly along the edge of Council territory, watching, observing, waiting. The Council scrambled fleets to intercept. Hundreds of ships gathered in formation, their weapons locked, their commanders filled with nervous pride. They broadcast demands across every frequency. Identify yourself. Withdraw at once. This is restricted space. But the human ship did not answer. Its silence was heavier than words. Every second of waiting felt like a blade pressing against the throat of the galaxy. Inside the Council chambers, leaders shouted for action. Some demanded the ship be destroyed immediately. Others warned against firing first. Old stories whispered in their minds. Story, as that once, long ago, those who struck first against humanity never lived to tell the tale. Finally, the Council ordered a show of force. 1,000 ships surrounded the human vessel, locking their weapons. Energy surged, ready to burn the intruder into dust. But before the order could be given, something happened that none of them expected. The human ship moved, not fast, not aggressive. It simply adjusted its position, and in that single movement, every alien weapon went offline. Engines failed, shields collapsed, 1,000 ships hung powerless in space. Panic erupted, commanders screamed over comms, systems flickered, and crews stared in terror at screens gone dark. The human ship glowed with strange light, not the energy of destruction, but something older, something controlled. Then, at last, a voice came. It was human, deep and calm, carrying through every system. You watched us vanish, you believed us broken, you mocked our silence. But silence was our weapon. Now we are here, and you will listen. The galaxy froze. That one voice shattered centuries of belief. The humans were not gone, not destroyed, not forgotten. They had returned, and they spoke not with fear but with certainty. The alien fleets, still helpless, could do nothing. Some captains begged for mercy, others stayed silent, trembling. The human ship did not fire a single shot. It only released their systems, one by one. Engines restarted, weapons came back online, shields flickered into strength again, and then the human voice returned. We do not seek your permission to exist. We do not ask for your approval. Remember this moment, for it is only the beginning. And with that, the massive ship vanished. One moment it was there, dominating the stars. The next it was gone. No warp trail, no energy burst, simply gone, as if it had never been. But the fear remained across every world, ever. Empire. Every race, stories spread, the humans had returned, and they were beyond anything the galaxy had ever imagined. No empire could explain the technology. No scientist could decode the silence. No warrior could understand how 1,000 ships had been disabled without a battle. Admiral Tovak, who had once begged the Council to take humanity seriously, now stood in silence. His fears had come true, and his voice was heavy with warning. This is not their war. This is their message, the first contact of fear. The galaxy could not rest. The image of the single human warship disabling 1,000 Council vessels haunted every admiral, every emperor, every merchant. No one understood the technology. No one could explain how a ship so silent carried such strength. But one truth spread across every world. Humanity had returned. For weeks the Council argued. Some called for peace, begging to open talks with the humans. Others demanded war, declaring that no single world should be allowed such unchecked power. But before a decision could be made, humanity spoke again, and this time, their voice reached the entire galaxy. Across every star system, every screen, every device, the same signal appeared. It carried no symbols of empire, no banners of conquest. It carried the face of a human, calm and unshaken. The voice was steady, but it struck like thunder. You believed Earth was lost. You believed we were weak. But while you fought your endless wars, we chose silence. While you argued over borders, we built in the shadows. We are not gone. We are not broken. We are ready. The broadcast shifted, and what followed made even the bravest commanders tremble. Stars lit up on the displays, maps of regions thought empty. But in those regions, human fleets appeared, dozens, then hundreds, then thousands. Colossal ships, their designs unlike anything seen before. Their hulls absorbed light, their engines left no trails. Their weapons glowed with silent promise. Whole armadas revealed themselves, hidden in the dark for centuries. The Galaxy gasped. What the Council had thought a myth was now undeniable truth. Humanity had not only survived, they had prepared. They had turned their exile into strength. They had built fleets in secret strongholds, fleets large enough to rival every empire combined. Panic spread. Leaders shouted, demanding proof that it was not an illusion. But the humans showed more, a live demonstration. On the barren world of Myrath, deep in unclaimed space, human ships appeared above the skies. In moments they reshaped the planet. Machines descended, terraforming engines roared, and within hours, barren rock turned into green forests, rivers, and oceans. Aliens watching from across the stars trembled. Humanity did not just wage war, they could create worlds. Admiral Tovak, watching the broadcast, whispered to himself, "This is not power, this is destiny." But the revelation was not finished. The humans spoke again. For centuries, you mocked our silence. You believed Earth was weak, forgotten, erased. But we were waiting for the time when your arrogance would blind you. Now we return, not as beggars, not as servants, but as a force you cannot ignore. Across alien capitals, riots broke out. Citizens demanded answers. How could their leaders have ignored the humans for so long? How could they have laughed at the very race now showing power greater than any empire had ever dreamed? In hidden military bunkers, some empires prepared their fleets, desperate to strike before humanity grew even stronger. But in their hearts they knew it was useless. If one ship could silence 1,000, what could thousands of ships do? On Earth itself, long shielded and hidden, humanity's homeworld stirred. Once thought a ruined rock, it was now a shining jewel. Cities stretched across continents, skies filled with advanced craft, oceans alive with light. Earth was no longer just a planet. It was the heart of a hidden empire, an empire that had been silent for centuries, an empire now ready to reveal itself. The galaxy had demanded proof, now they had it, and it was more terrifying than they ever imagined. The galaxy trembled. Every empire, every fleet, every soldier now knew the truth. Humanity had not been defeated. They had been waiting, and when they finally stepped into the light, they carried the power of centuries hidden in silence. But the galaxy had not yet seen the full scale. What came next turned fear into terror, and terror into surrender. The humans did not declare war. They did not demand tribute. They simply moved. Armadas appeared across the stars, not in one place, not in two, but in dozens of sectors at once. Ships materialized in orbits of capital worlds, in the depths of trade routes, even above mighty fortresses thought untouchable. No warp trails were seen, no warnings appeared. One moment the skies were empty, the next they were filled with human vessels. The empires scrambled their fleets. Thousands of warships moved to intercept, their weapons glowing with desperate fire. But before the first shot could be launched, the humans acted. With one silent command, every alien engine failed, weapons powered down, shields collapsed, entire fleets froze in space, helpless and silent. It was not destruction, it was domination. The humans had shown mercy, but mercy laced with warning. On the planet of Korath Prime, the largest military fortress in the Council's control, alien generals watched in horror as their walls crumbled without a single missile fired. The human ships above the skies sent down beams of light, not to burn, not to destroy, but to rewrite the very foundations of their technology. In moments, their defenses became useless, their pride reduced to nothing. In the chamber of the council, silence reigned. Leaders who once roared with arrogance now sat pale and trembling. Even the Luther Emperor, who had sworn to burn humans into dust, no. Yabori whispered to his guards. Nothing can stop them. Meanwhile, on forgotten border worlds, ordinary people looked to the skies, and for the first time, they did not see alien banners of conquest. They saw human ships descending not as destroyers but as watchers. Some dropped supplies to starving colonies, others repaired broken stations. It was a message as clear as fire. Humanity could destroy, but they also could save. The choice belonged to them alone. Everywhere the humans moved, they left behind the same feeling: power without limit, control beyond imagination, and a silence heavier than any war. Admiral Tovak watched from his command ship. He remembered the first faint human signal, the haunting code that had shaken him to his core. Now he saw the result of that silence, a race that had turned patience into their greatest weapon. They are not conquerors, he whispered to himself. They are reminders that no empire is untouchable. Still, there were fools who resisted. Small fleets of desperate warriors launched attacks, but they never reached their targets. Their weapons turned to dust before firing, their ships scattered by invisible forces. In every battle, humanity did not fight to win. They fought to show they could not lose. The galaxy had seen wars. It had seen tyrants rise and fall, but never had it seen a race move like this, without fear, without hesitation, without weakness. The unstoppable advance was not only in their fleets, it was in their silence, in their control, in the knowledge that every empire now danced in their shadow. And then, when the galaxy could take no more, the humans spoke once again. Their voice echoed across the stars, deep and unshaken. This is only a glimpse of what we have built. We do not wish to rule, but we will not bow. Remember what you have seen. Remember that Earth has returned. The words spread faster than any fleet, and in the heart of every leader, one truth burned: humanity was unstoppable, and the age of silence had ended. The galaxy held its breath. Empires that once roared with arrogance now sat in silence. Worlds that once mocked Earth now whispered the same name with trembling lips. For centuries they had believed humanity gone, erased, forgotten. But now there was no denying it. Humanity had returned. Across 1,000 star systems, human fleets held their positions. They did not conquer. They did not slaughter. They simply stood in the skies like guardians, black steel shadows against the light of suns. Their presence was enough. Every empire knew in that moment that the balance of power had shifted forever. In the council chamber, no one dared to speak. Leaders who had spent years laughing at the thought of human survival now lowered their eyes. They had witnessed fleets silenced without a single weapon fired. They had watched planets reshaped in hours. They had seen arrogance turned into ash. And then, without warning, the skies above the council's own capital lit up. A vast ship appeared, larger than anything ever built. Its hull shimmered with strange energy. Its engines hummed with power that defied understanding. On its side, in letters carved deep, was the word Earth. The ship did not fire. It did not threaten. It simply hovered in silence. And then, the voice returned, human, steady, unshaken. For centuries we waited in the dark. You believed our silence was weakness. You believed our disappearance was defeat. But silence was our choice. We watched, we learned, we built, and now we return, not to beg, not to kneel, but to remind you, humanity does not vanish. The chamber shook with the weight of the words. Even the most powerful empires felt smaller than dust. The humans had not returned as servants, nor as equals. They had returned as something greater, a force that could no longer be denied. Across the galaxy, ordinary people cheered. Some had lived under the cruelty of alien empires, beaten down and silenced. For them, the return of Earth was not fear, it was hope. They saw in humanity a chance for balance, a chance for freedom, where alien rulers saw terror. The oppressed saw salvation. On hidden worlds, in the depths of their secret empire, humans prepared. They were ready to step from shadows into light, ready to walk the stars not as myths, but as masters of their own fate. The silence that once protected them was over. Now their voice would shape the galaxy. Admiral Tovak, standing in his ship, whispered what many now feared to admit. This is not the rise of a world. This is the return of a legend. The human fleet above the council capital shifted. Thousands of ships aligned, their lights glowing as one. It was not an attack. It was a declaration, a symbol to every star, every empire, every living being. Humanity had risen from silence, and nothing would ever return to what it once was. The final words of the human broadcast echoed across the galaxy, words that would be carved into history. You demanded strength. Now you will see ours. You doubted our existence. Now you will feel it. We are Earth, and we have returned. The stars themselves seemed to bow in silence, and the galaxy, vast and proud, could only listen, for the age of arrogance was over, and the age of humanity had begun. To